Building muscle, how do you do it? I'm in a phase where I'm building muscle right now, and I don't actually really like the way my body looks at the moment. There's stages you have to go through, especially when you're building muscle, in order to get the body that you do at the end of it. Most people find it difficult to build muscle, not because they're not willing to put in the work, not because they don't know what they're supposed to do, but because they want their body to go from something they don't like, which is where it is now, and head immediately towards something that they do like. Think about it like this. If you want to get some fruit, you have to grow a tree first, and then the tree will grow the fruit. A piece of fruit won't necessarily just pop straight up out of the ground. And the same is often true with the body that you have in your mind. There's foundations to build first. So a couple of high-level points to the actual method of building muscle. First, you have to be the kind of person that likes to do heavy training on a regular basis. If you're not that kind of person, and you never will be, pretty much guaranteed to never increase the amount of muscle on your body in a noticeable way. Start by committing to become the kind of person that's going to go to the gym or is going to do some regular workouts where they're pushing themselves to do something that feels heavy. Secondly, you need to have some control over your diet. You have to have the mindset that you're going to eat the thing that's required to get the result you want, and not just eat the thing that you enjoy eating. Same as swallowing pills when you're sick. You're not doing that because you love it. It might not be a very pleasant experience, but you're doing it to get the result you want, which is to get better. And once you've got those things in place, and once you're happy mentally with those ideas and with that approach, the second thing that you absolutely have to put in place is what we call progressive overload. When you do a workout, you're telling your body to get stronger. When you eat enough and rest enough, your body becomes stronger in response to that workout. And because you're stronger, the previous workout is no longer going to have the same effect. So you need to make the workout a bit harder in some way so that your workouts are still telling your body to get stronger. We call this progressive overload because we progressively increase the amount of weight that we're putting across the muscle. And we can do that by increasing the number of times you lift the same weight, but the basic principle is you're doing a bit more than you did the last time you did a workout. If you do the same weight every time, you're only ever telling your body to build a certain amount of muscle. If we want to continue building more over time, we have to do workouts that require more of the muscles over time. And just as an aside, the process of building muscle is a long one. Muscle building happens slower than fat loss, and you're unlikely to get visible results in anything less than 2 months, maybe 3 months. And if you want a significant transformation in your body, where you go from looking pretty normal to having the kind of muscle that people would characterize as being like you're a muscular person, we're talking maybe 2 years of consistently training and eating in a way that gets you bigger. Now, obviously that 2 years is split into phases where we push a little bit harder and pull back a little bit and then push a little bit harder again. But don't expect to turn around and look in the mirror and see dramatic changes overnight. So the second thing on this level is diet. In order to build muscle, to respond to that training that you're doing with progressive overload, you need something to build that muscle from. If you're not eating enough food, especially if you're training hard, all of the food goes towards keeping you alive and moving you around. There's none left over to actually add to your body in the form of muscle. So you need to be consistently eating in a way that leaves some protein as a surplus in the system to be stored in your body as extra muscle, responding to that workout. Now, it might sound like it's easy to overeat, and on a meal by meal or a day by day basis, it is pretty easy to overeat. We've all had massive blowouts, huge takeaways, birthday treat, 3 slices of cake. We've all done that. But what usually happens when you do that is you push it for 3-4 days, and the 3-4 days after that, you don't really feel like eating that much. So on a week by week and a month by month basis, it's actually pretty difficult to overeat in a consistent way, especially when the majority of those extra calories are coming from protein. So this is why you need to have a consistent diet pattern, so you can keep track of your overeating and not just feel like you've been eating a lot, for your body to just correct it in the second half of the week, in the second half of the month. And yes, if you're overeating for months at a time, you will get fat. You're not going to be shredded. You're probably not going to have a six-pack to speak of at all. You might find a bit of a spare tire showing up if you're a guy. You might feel a little bit fat in this upper chest area if you're a girl. You might see it in your face. You might feel that your face is starting to get a bit fat around here. This is why I usually recommend, if you're already a little bit fatter than you want to be, start with fat loss and don't start with muscle gain. Because the leaner you start from when you're doing a bulking muscle gaining phase, the longer you can go before it becomes advisable to start losing fat again. And your body won't look the way you finally want it to look, but it's part of the process. And the other reason we start with a fat loss phase usually is so that you can trust yourself to know that if you want to lose fat, you've done it once before, you know the methods, and you can confidently put some fat on as part of the process of getting bigger muscles, in the knowledge that when it comes to a time when you want to take that fat off again and not get yourself to an unhealthy level of fat, you've already got that down. And then the final level of detail here is do heavy compound movements, bench pressing, squatting, lat pull downs, rows, all of their variants. You can even go down to body weight if you're not starting with a lot of muscle. You can use machines, but variations of those heavy compound movements. Get stronger in those lifts over time. And then if you have particular target areas you want to work on, girls, it's usually they want to work on their legs more. For guys, it's usually they want to work on their upper body more, because that accentuates the natural distribution of the muscularity of the different sexes. Choose some isolation exercises. And in general, you don't just want to add weight to those exercises, but add volume by doing more sets and more reps over time. And diet-wise, I normally recommend quite a high protein diet, because if you do that, it's quite difficult to get wrong. It gives you some leeway to have a few days where you don't quite hit your protein goals. So I like to take your height in centimeters and add 20, and that's how many grams of protein you have each day. Multiply that by 7 to figure out how much protein you want across the week, and then calculate your weekly shop to include that amount of protein, and then buy that each week and eat all the food you buy. And then you never have to measure out your protein again. And then how do you know if you're putting on muscle? Weigh yourself. And if you're getting heavier, you're putting on muscle. If you're doing progressive overload, if you're hitting a protein target, and you're eating enough calories overall. If you're seeing your weight go up, you're putting on muscle, even if you feel like you might be just getting a bit fat. Now, if something goes wrong, I don't have time to go through all of that now. If you don't see that weight go up, if you don't see your lifts getting heavier, if you find that you can't hit that protein target each week, there are ways to get around that, and there are ways to fix those issues, but they're going to be individual to you, and I don't have time to go into all of those things. But you can discover them when you're actually doing the thing, because remember, the answer to every question is to stop asking questions until you do things in the real world. So start by trying to consistently have a diet pattern where you're eating enough protein to put on muscle with. Start by regularly lifting heavy compound exercises, isolation exercises for your target areas, and increasing the total amount of weight you're lifting from week to week, from workout to workout. Do that, and if as you're doing that, you come up with any questions, you come up with any problems, send me a message, let me know what's going on, and I'll try and answer your questions in a post like this. See ya!